Welcome to Random-ish with Sanja. How you doing? So this podcast will be a random podcast of various topics: love, sex, relationships, family, life. And I personally am huge into manifesting. We all are. Love to talk about it. So I will always be making references to manifesting in your life. These first shows will be taped on Anchor, and I'll be also taping shows on the home studio, so the sound quality will be better. I have to say that because I'm a little bit of a tech nerd with the sound, so I know the sound quality is not exactly the way I'd like for it to be, but with it being on my cell phone, it's making it so there's no excuse for me to not just record some thoughts and put it out there and get started, right? Right. So, random-ish. Today, I would like to talk about being right or having peace. Fighting. I'm not fighting with anybody right now, currently. Just want to put that out there. However, I am aware, or actually had to endure today, breaking up or mediating, two people, and that were not even in the same state with me. And it made me think about fighting and how people don't always fight fair or fight correctly. Is there a correct way of fighting? I think there is a correct way of fighting. Dude, let's stay on the subject of whatever we're fighting about. I don't know about you, but I know that there's a lot of people in my life, a lot of exes that I've had that shall remain nameless. We'll just call them dumbass. No, I'm just kidding. People have a tendency, if you ever noticed, that when you're fighting about something or disagreeing, you ever notice people never stay on the subject? Especially when they know they wrong. I always like to call it deflecting. I think it's a way, or it's some type of, combat. It's like a combat. It's some kind of defense play that a person uses, that when you're talking to them and maybe you use the wrong word, or maybe you say something silly or whatever, and then they deflect and they totally try to go into a whole new lane and try to talk about whatever wrong word you used. Why are you always leaving the microwave on? I'm giving you a very bad example because I don't fight very well. I'd be ready to just slit your throat. No, I'm just kidding. Listen, I personally think that I do fight fair. I think that I do stick with the subject. I'm not into name calling. Like, it's 2018. Why are we name calling? Why are we calling each other bitches and cunts and other kind of words? And listen, believe you me, anybody who knows me knows that this one right here, this girl right here, I can have a foul mouth. I usually don't. That was back in the teenage days when I'll tell you something real quick. But I've kind of been in radio since I was 22, I think, 23, 22. So I learned how to get PC real quick, but Sunny is the name I like to call the girl no one wants to meet. Okay, let's be real. An ex of mine saw her just a little bit and was like, yeah, she needs a whole nother name, because I didn't even know you was like that. So the angry side of me is Sunny, who Sunny likes to be right and likes to fight. You know what I'm saying? And when I say fight, prove my point is what I really mean. I mean, give you 100 reasons as to why you're wrong. I've never really been into the name calling. However, what's making me want to even talk about this subject is I'm realizing there's a lot of people without a big vocabulary, and they just resort to name calling. I'm not sure what that's about, but I had a teacher, I think her name was Miss Castro, who told me, if you're stupid, never open your mouth and prove it. And I was just like, wow, she's deep. So I've always remembered that and try not to engage, so to speak. But sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes you feel like you're backed into the corner. So that's what I want to talk about. When you are backed into a corner and, people for whatever reason or somebody is, really egging you on and just after you and just, in your face. And let's be real, nobody wants to be a punk, okay? Nobody wants to be a punk, okay? The other day I'm a DJ at a strip club. I had a girl not go on the stage after I called her name like twice. And I was like, yo, the instant, I've been to jail or something, came in me and was like, yo, I gotta shut this shit down because she ain't punking me, yo. I did. I got her ass on the stage. So I do sympathize that nobody wants to be the punk, so to speak, But my question is, do you want to be right or do you want to have peace? Even in that situation with me getting a little upset, feeling disrespected, let me go, fix this situation. The intention is because, overriding my, don't want to be punked was keep the club going, keep the customers happy, keep the momentum of what we've got going on going, rather than being right, so to speak, So I worked around it, pulled somebody else on first, and then handled the situation, got her up, In fights that I've had, I won't concede on my stand, but I will stop fighting. There's no, we can agree to disagree. But I noticed that a lot of people don't like that. So is it more important to be right than to have peace? You know that you can have a difference of opinion, right? I mean, are people aware of that you can be in a relationship, you can be in a friendship, you can be with coworkers, government, we can have two different opinions, and it doesn't make either one right or wrong because everybody's somewhat telling the truth in their eyes. Here comes the manifesting laws. Because listen, usually people can only give you their perspective from their perspective. So when we're fighting and you're asking somebody to see your side, usually in the fight, it's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? It's not really, they're not going to see your perspective. And even afterwards, they're still not going to see your perspective. Your perspective will be filtered through their eyes and their perspective. Hopefully it's a good perspective. But with that being said, where do we stop? Where do you, who is going to be the one who's going to say stop? Who's going to be the one? Somebody's got to be the bigger person. I grew up in Southern California at the time of when the Crips and the Bloods was before the truce. And I had friends who were slightly involved and I would hear stories. And the stories that I would hear, I immediately knew. So this person gets into a fight, then this person brings a knife, then this person brings a gun, this one brings an AK. You know what I'm saying? Now we got a whole city war. You know what I mean? It just escalates until somebody, says it's not worth it, whatever, Is that person the punk? So in relationships, if you decide that you want to be the peacemaker, are you the punk? Would you rather be right or have peace? Now, on the flip side, nobody wants to be a doormat either. And people's points and thoughts are valid. Doesn't mean they're right, but that's how that person feels. So it's their truth. In a fight, do you fight fair? Do you stick to the subject? Or do you resort to name calling when somebody says something or calls you on something? I love a person who can admit when they are wrong. I think that's admirable. I also love a person who can apologize. I think that takes a lot of guts. I know in this day and age of social media and, trolling and yada yada, it's not really about saying I'm sorry or making peace, because after all, having beef with people, having issues, it makes for more drama. Hell, it makes for good TV. I love a kiki moment too, But in our personal lives, can we save it for the internet and for the TV? In our real life situation, when two family members are fighting and nobody can even figure out, what the hell are you fighting for? There's no real reason. Well, this person said something to me and then that person said something, and it's all perspective. Like, you didn't take it right, or you didn't say it right. I've been definitely guilty. I know it. Yo, my tone can be fucked up. Don't ask me a question when I'm in mid-thought. You gonna feel like, dang, why she ew. Believe me, But it is a topic that's come to my mind literally because two people that I care about, having an issue. And I don't know why. I do know why. Don't get me wrong. I do know why. But I don't know why, So when you're in your next fight with your next family member, boyfriend, girlfriend, friend, whatever, I have always wanted a man that we could fight and afterwards get it in. That we could fight and still laugh. That we could fight and I could just look and just, because if we're fighting over an issue and not fighting each other, then no matter what disagreements we have, we'll be all right. I guess that's the bottom line, right? The manifesting laws is that contrast is always needed. So fighting will never end. Diversity will never end. If it isn't for diversity, if it's not for the disagreements, if it's not for the friction, then we can't have growth. So I will never, ever say that these things are not needed. However, how we go about these things, how we express ourselves, how we relay the information, how I validate my own feelings by speaking it out loud and feeling good inside my solar plexus because I just stood up for myself or expressed myself or whatever. Because that's what it's really about. You just want to be heard. As soon as we understand that that's what we're doing and just let a person be heard, then it's usually done. Usually. Except for, except for Aisha over there. That bitch be holding a grudge for like 15 years. You know what I mean? Except for that bitch. So, on that note, I'm feeling much better. Feeling like I just expressed myself, had a nice Mr. Roger moment and all of that good stuff. So yeah, so hopefully maybe one or two of the people that I am talking about, will listen to this. And just remember, next time you get in the middle of some ish and you feel like you got to express yourself, still remember that you love or care about that person. Stick to the subject, okay? Stick to the subject. And remember, you'd rather have peace, or at least try to keep in mind, and on the manifesting, when you're having these contrasting moments, the way you use the alchemy and you flip that shit is if you can then, in the minute that it happens afterwards, stop and be like, well, what is it that I want? And start thinking about what it is that you want. You can flip the whole script. I'm just saying. Anyway, so, there we go. We got our first episode in the can. There we go. Wonder what the hell I'll be talking about next week. Till then, see ya. Stay blessed. Remember, Stay in your zone. Stay in your motherfucking zone.